The town hall will be in person with ourselves here, as well as virtual on Facebook and online through the town of Hinton. So good evening to the residents of the town of Hinton and Yellowhead County. I want to thank everybody. For attending both virtually and in person. I recognize that time is valuable, so I appreciate you spending the time with us. So the purpose of the town hall meeting is to provide you with information about the RCMP and our roles and responsibilities in our community. So if you're tuning into us virtually on the YouTube channel, we have one of the town employees monitoring, and they'll advise me when there's a question being asked, and I will address the question as it's asked. So the agenda for tonight, I'd like to speak first on the previous annual performance plan, which we'll refer to as the APP, and which is coming to the end on April, at the end of the month. That will be our 2022 and 2023 APP. Next, we'll discuss the upcoming year's APP from 2023 to 2024. And we ask for feedback from the residents, and this can be done through email or asking a question virtually. So after we go through the APP, I'll introduce Sergeant Mills, who is our Ops NCO at the detachment. He's recently transferred to Hinton last year and was promoted as the Ops NCO. His role in the detachment is to oversee day-to-day operations, and Sergeant Mills will introduce himself and tell us about himself after the APP, and he'll talk a little bit more about off-highway vehicle because it becomes kind of a hot topic as we get into the summer months. So I also brought with me Corporal Jurgens, who is a member in charge of the General Investigation Section at the detachment. We recently created a new position called the Crime Reduction Unit, and he will speak more about the responsibilities that fall under the new crew member. So start with introductions of myself. Those who do know me, I'm the detachment commander, and I've been in the position for 5 months, and I started in October. So during the last town hall, which was held November 2022, I mentioned that I'm honored to be chosen as the detachment commander of such a wonderful community that my family and I now call home. I have currently 16 years of service with the RCMP, and I'm excited for the upcoming year here in Hinton, where we have a lot of events and festivals scheduled. So we'll go over the overview of the 2022 and 2023 APP for the detachment. So we have 3 main priorities, and there's a number of tasks that are under each priority to help us maintain our goal. So we have traffic safety, and this is done through enforcement, JFOs with the CN police, bylaw, county enforcement, conservation, and other government agencies, as well as we have a traffic working group. Our next priority is theft, property crime, and this is done through monitoring habitual offenders here in Hinton and Yellowhead County, search warrants, intel policing, and hotspot patrols. Lastly, our priority is community engagement. So this is done through Coffee with a Cop, community events, as well as foot patrols through the town. So we'll just kind of go over each one of the priorities. So traffic, we created a full-time traffic position here in Hinton. I believe he started here in November. Enforcement and education was done through the traffic member, and we were able to do 10 JFOs, joint force operations, during the check stop season. Focus has been on impaired driving, both alcohol and drug related, and the traffic member, Constable Metz, has been awarded the Corporal Cummings Award, which allows us to recognize members who have taken more than 25 impaired drivers off the roads and made the roads a safer place. In regards to priority of theft, hotspot patrols have been determined by stats, and then the members increase patrols in those areas. Habitual offenders are conditions such as curfew and other conditions that we're able to check on. And search warrants have been written and recorded based on information gathered by the officers on the front line. Community engagement, done a number of Coffee with a Cop, which has been done at the NW, the Grind, and tomorrow we have members attending the Pine Valley for the St. Patrick's Day coffee time. Other community events have kept the members busy throughout the year, and we've attended more than 100 events. So the upcoming APP for 2023 to 2024, the main priorities will stay the same as traffic, property crime, and community engagement. And this was determined by the RCMP, who conduct more than 10 stakeholder meetings with different groups of residents throughout Hinton and the Yellowhead County. Some things that will change going forward will be that the traffic working group, we will meet quarterly and discuss concerns in traffic safety, as well as concerns that are brought forward by residents about problem areas such as traffic hazards, intersections of concern, or any other roadway issues that need our attention. Another difference will be the amount of time and visibility members are spending in communities located outside the areas of Hinton, such as Brule, Catamount, Highway 40, subdivisions in the county, Pedley, Cardale, Muskota, Seabolt Estates entrance, and Grandview Estates. Community engagement can be tough at times if members are busy at calls, but this year you'll see members out on mountain bikes, foot patrols, and attending community events in Hinton and Yellowhead County. So if you see the members out there, please stop by and say hi. So this covers the latest updates and focus that we're going to be doing on the new APP. So I will pass it over to Sergeant Mills.
Thank you. I'll just introduce myself a little bit. I don't really know many of you guys. I've been a member of the RCMP for 14 years now. Spent the last 10 years in a couple of different isolated posts in northern Alberta. Transferred here to Hinton in July of last year. And I've really enjoyed making Hinton home with my family. In January of this year, I was promoted to the operations NCO, as Staff Sergeant Spaghetti mentioned. I'm really excited about that new role and the challenges and the opportunities that it will bring to me. I want to take an opportunity to kind of talk about a couple of other areas that kind of come to light this time of year, beautiful day like today, where we know spring is kind of just around the corner. The first part was about e-bikes, which are kind of all the rage right now. We see a lot of those around. A lot of people have different questions about them. The rules around e-bikes are quite straightforward, basically, and I think most of the manufacturers have kind of jumped on board with it, but they cannot exceed 500 watts of power. That is kind of like the threshold of where they can work up to. They can't travel over 32 kilometers an hour, and I don't think many of them are really capable of doing that. And they must have fully operable pedals. Those are kind of like the big three things that make an e-bike legal as a bicycle. So no driver's license required, no registration required, no insurance is required. Those bicycles can be used anywhere else you can use a regular bicycle. Pathways, streets. You really shouldn't be using them on a sidewalk. If you are on a sidewalk, you kind of got to get the right of way to any pedestrians that are there. And you have to be 12 to operate an e-bike in Alberta. And helmets are required. You can either wear a full-blown motorcycle helmet or a bicycle helmet. Both are acceptable. Another area that we're going to probably see a lot of activity with is all-terrain vehicles or off-highway vehicles. First and foremost, full stop, helmets need to be worn all times when people are operating off-highway vehicles. That's been legislation for about 5 years now, I think, something like that in Alberta. So I think most people are on board with that. Most people recognize the reasons behind that. Another big key point, and this is something that we deal with lots of times in the sand dunes, but planning ahead, letting people know where you're going, who you're going with, and what time you plan on being back, so that people can have a rough idea of where you're going, how long you should be, and know when they should become concerned versus you're still out having fun, you're making your way back. And to ride within your abilities. Oftentimes people try to push themselves a little bit farther than they probably should, and then we end up with people hurt, stuck in the bush, broken machines, all that kind of stuff that kind of causes a whole bunch of work that doesn't necessarily need to happen. A couple of provincial laws that specifically apply to off-highway vehicles. If you're under the age of 14 and operating, you must be accompanied by an adult who is 18 years or older. Regardless of engine displacement or vehicle size, everything needs to be registered and insured if it's being used on public lands and or ditches and like roadways where it's legal to do so. And another big thing would be to ensure that you're taking steps to prevent forest fires. Oftentimes ATVs get really hot, they get mud caked up underneath them, they can start to smolder and smoke, or if somebody parks a machine in some long grass and they end up touching up on the exhaust or some of the other hot parts that are underneath, it can be a big issue and cause a lot of problems for a lot of different people. So Make sure you stay off private land that doesn't belong to you or that you don't have permission to ride on. And as well, operating an off-highway vehicle while you're impaired is the same as operating a motor vehicle while you're impaired. As truck or car, anything in town, all the same penalties and rules apply for that. Specifically to Yellowhead County, there were just some updates this year in terms of their off-highway vehicle bylaws. So if you're operating an off-highway vehicle on any of the highways within Yellowhead County, the maximum speed you can travel at is 50 kilometers an hour. And if you're inside any of the hamlets, 30 kilometers is the maximum speed. And I'll also note that you cannot operate an off-highway vehicle within the town of Hinton. That is not allowed. And within Yellowhead County, anytime operating an off-highway vehicle on a roadway, you're travel in a straight line with your multiple people. You got to be in a row. You can't spread out across the lane. Travel on the farthest right-hand side of the road. And if there's a ditch there, you can also use the ditch. Those are kind of the big highlights that I have about off-highway vehicles and about the e-bikes. Yes, question.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, is there, or maybe not, a difference between ATVs and the new e-bikes that don't have pedals? That are, like, do they fit under an ATV? Like, do they require registration?
I think so, by not having pedals, from what my research that I did and what I've seen, if it doesn't have pedals, it's not an e-bike, and therefore registration, insurance, helmet only on the roadway. I know there are some versions that are out there that are smaller and lighter and kind of fall into most of those categories, but they need to have I know some of them even have pedals you can take off and put back on and stuff like that. So
is there going to be maybe a possibility of doing some education? Because I'm aware of some being sold in our community and being represented as a cheaper version of transportation, and putting it in the category of an e-bike, but they do not have pedals.
not even an option.
There's no option whatsoever. So they basically look like a dirt bike.
Right.
But they are electric.
It's an electric.
Electric. So I guess that's where I'm wondering if people are aware that if they went out to purchase this, then technically they can't be riding it within town limits.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a hybrid between ATV and electric. Right. So yeah. No,
that's fair. Maybe I'll grab that information from you afterwards about where that's at, and we can go and maybe do some education with the dealer to say, hey, just so you know, you got to market this in the appropriate way so that's not happening.
Thank you.
If I may, the town of Hinton, through our protective services, we've done a lot of research on the regulations that province have with regards to e-bikes, pedal assist and non-pedal assist. And we are, through our communications department, producing a brochure that will be available at the town and protective services will provide up to the RCMP, and as well as registrations. So all that information will soon be available.
Oh, awesome.
For the public.
Anything further?
Another question.
So did you say in regards to e-bikes, they should be rode on the street, but they could be ridden on the sidewalk?
It's same as a bicycle where you can ride it on the road if you're properly equipped and you're confident that you can use the multi-purpose paths. And generally, I think children are the only ones who ride bicycles on the sidewalks. Most adults, I think, kind of stay off these because they're bigger, and pedestrians on foot have the right of way on the sidewalk there. So
Thank you.
No further questions? All right, I will now introduce Corporal Jurgens, and you can speak a little bit more about the crew position.
Thank you, Staff Sergeant Brady. My name is Corporal Ryan Jurgens. So this is my third year being in Hinton, and it's been a great place for my family and I. We very much enjoyed it, and 16 years total with the RCMP. And in Hinton, I've been in charge of the general investigation section here. And so I'm pleased to be able to talk a bit about the Hinton Detachment Crime Reduction Unit, what we call CREW. I'll just go through what the purpose is, a few points about it, and then I'll end with specifically what CREW does. The purpose of CREW is just simply to minimize effects of harm caused by crime in the community. CREW will do this by prolific offender management, by identifying crime trends, and responding to these by engaging detachment members and district and divisional resources to contend with harm caused by or to deal with crime trends that we identify. Most crime is committed by a tiny portion of the community who repeatedly offend. The mission of the Prolific Offender Management Initiative is to break that cycle. Identifying prolific offenders is done methodically. Statistical analysis by criminal analysts is utilized. Often prolific offenders have a lengthy history of police reported occurrences and criminal records. The cause of this offending include an absence of personal responsibility and a loss of sense of community. Additionally, addiction, mental health, and a variety of other social and economic factors are underlying issues facing prolific offenders. And I mention these things because our prolific offender management response is mindful of these complexities. Last month, Crew designed and began to implement a prolific offender management initiative that will see us continue to encourage offenders to seek resources to address their underlying issues. If those offenders continue the cycle of offending, and this is often because they're not addressing these issues, we will continue to, with focused conventional intelligence-based law enforcement strategies. Well, this prolific offender management will be a carryover of the offender management work that we've done in the last 3 years. Moving forward, Crew will be taking leadership of this initiative. I want to take a moment to talk about crime trends. Crime trends relate closely to prolific offenders. I remember there's been a number of occasions in the last couple of years where you could nearly predict the number of break-ins or stolen vehicles just based on who recently got out of jail. Crew will be closely monitoring these trends. He'll be doing this, they'll be doing this by collecting street level intelligence, by working closely with detachment members, by monitoring police reported occurrences, and also by utilizing statistics compiled by our criminal analyst. Crew's already come up with a list of projects that will be implemented based on crime trends. And these projects are designed to address a wide range of trends, including vehicle thefts, theft from vehicles, copper wire thefts, real crime, and will utilize new and innovative techniques, resources, and best practices from our own district and also from provincial partners. There's so much collective knowledge, experience, and expertise to draw on in the RCMP. Recognizing this, last month, we sent our crew member to Grand Prairie, and he shadowed and learned from their RCMP municipal crew unit. He came back invigorated from his time there with new ideas and methods, and I look forward to seeing him implement these. Teamwork is critical for sustaining law enforcement success at the detachment level. Property crime and theft reduction strategies require open lines of communication, intelligence sharing, and a coordinated approach. It's definitely a team sport, if you want to call it that. Crew will be championing a teamwork-oriented approach by partnering with and directing Hinton detachment members, other crew units within the division, as well as others in the RCMP, including Alert, RCMP Auto Theft, just to name a few, in crime reduction initiatives. The last thing I wanted to talk about is what Crew will be doing specifically. As I already mentioned, Crew will be taking leadership. Crew will be taking leadership of prolific offender tasks and utilizing others to complete these. This includes encouraging offenders to engage with supports. This might include counseling, addiction services, or other community resources. And I like to think of that as a resource first approach, a proactive approach. And again, it goes back to a focus on trying to break that cycle. Enforcement, so where other methods fail, conventional enforcement will continue. And then creating updated and comprehensive bail packages. Crew will be making target sheets of prolific offenders and sharing these with neighboring detachments. Crew will be creating individual files for offenders who have court-ordered conditions to monitor compliance. They will be monitoring, like I already mentioned, they'll be monitoring crime trends, and leading responses, including bringing in outside resources to mitigate and stop these trends from continuing. And crew will be conducting investigations themselves focused on prolific offenders and those offenders that are causing significant harm to the community.
Is there any questions for Corporal Jurgens in regards to crew? So our crew member's name is Constable Lucas Amo. He started his position in January, and since then, it's been a busy position for him. Just recently, we returned a bulldozer. They've been doing search warrants on hotels, so definitely a busy position, but he is motivated, and that's what we like to see. So just want to talk about some upcoming events that are next couple of weeks that are coming up. So we have the Battle of the Badges. That's the fire department versus the RCMP. So that's happening on Saturday, May 18th at 7 o'clock in the evening. So food donation or donation to get into the venue down at the rink. We have a 50-50 draw for SAR, which is our search and rescue group. So come down and support our frontline police and firefighters. Safety Bear may also be in attendance, so bring the kids. We also have a recruiting presentation, so I have Paid Vision coming out to the rink at People Center, I believe it's called, April 11th at 6 o'clock in the evening. So we have food and refreshments will be available, and come and see if you're gonna like a career here in the RCMP. So I just wrote down a few things that you need to have in order to apply for the RCMP. Must be a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident, status in Canada, be proficient in English or French, possess a valid driver's license in Canada, be 19 years of age at the time of engagement, but you may apply when you're 18 years of age, and have a vision and hearing assessment completed. So if you have any questions, you can always come out to the detachment or call us and we can answer questions. Our number there is 780-865-2455. Is there any other questions before we conclude the town hall? Nothing online. I'll also provide my email address. I'm at the detachment Monday through Friday, so you can stop in at any time, or my email address is Shiloh, SHILOH.Fragamini, FRAGOMENI at RCMP-GRC.gc.ca. And you can always email me any questions. So during the upcoming year, I'll be holding another town hall in Brule and Catamount. The dates have yet to be determined, but I'll be sure to share the dates as soon as I know, so I can meet as many Yellowhead County residents as possible. And I want to thank everybody who tuned into the town hall tonight, and thank the town of Hinton for the use of their facility. Appreciate everybody's time and coming in on your time when you can be with your family. And our next town hall will be held in the fall of 2023.